So I just want to do very briefly talk about what I think makes the great ones great, because there are great ones walking among us now. There are great ones on our teams now. I see them every day. But I also want to talk about why they'll leave you and why they'll love you. Because it's hard enough to hire a great seller. If you're not retaining them, if you're not doing the things that it takes to create the culture that fosters and retains great sales talent, then you have only yourself to blame. So I believe that as I work with digital sellers in workshops large and small, when I sit with them, when I counsel them and coach them on their strategies, I see 5 qualities in the great ones. And I think these are the qualities that we're going to have to groom and retain in our business. First, great digital sellers are marketing oriented, not advertising driven. They think in the larger scope of marketing. They widen the aperture around their role in the ecosystem. Second, they organize around programs. They organize around well-balanced programs, solution bundles, massive solutions for marketers, rather than around responding to media plans and RFPs. Third, these sellers operate left of budget. They don't wait for a budget to be formed and to have all of the assumptions and ROI measurements and all that stuff attached to it. Rather, they start with the unsolved marketing problem and work backwards from there. Fourth, and I think these things all these things all dovetail with one another, they navigate complexity especially well. These are people who look at a complex set of decision makers, processes, multiple parties in a deal. They look at that complexity and they immediately begin to simplify things. And finally, we're now making a generational change from a generation of transactional sellers to a generation of enterprise sellers. So we have something that we can learn from those people who have sold in diverse software systems, healthcare systems, in other industries. We need to now look at our sellers and say, listen, the idea of someone glad-handing and creating creating some kind of impetus to buy my stuff over their stuff in a transactional environment, those jobs are going to go away. We need to look at the enterprise sellers who can build out solutions and build out approvals in bigger, much more diverse organizations. So let's talk for a second about why those great sellers, and there's probably a couple of them on every one of your teams. Let's talk about the reasons why those great sellers might just leave you. And I think it comes down to 4 things. This is what they tell me when they're thinking about making a career change. Number 1, no one is having a proactive conversation with them about their future. Not in the industry and not at your companies. Discussions of their future is almost always reactive. It's something that we hand off to HR. It's something that we respond to when they get a job offer. Frankly, a lot of sellers ask us for promotions to management because they feel like that's the only opportunity for them. We're not painting a picture for them, and so we leave it to someone else to paint that picture, to fill in the gaps. Second, and this is going to sound ironic, people leave you because they feel unmanaged. Not unwatched, not unrecorded, but unmanaged. We have a middle management gap in our business. We don't have enough trained managers to really give these people what they need on a day-to-day basis, the strategic sustenance that really helps a salesperson keep moving in doing a really difficult job. Third, they perceive a lack of investment. Look around the room. Who's here? Bosses. Look at almost every major industry conference. Who gets to go? The bosses. So I can tell you that this is not something that goes unnoticed by the sellers. So 10 cents, a dime's worth of investment in them that gives them a broader picture of the industry, depth of knowledge around a specific category of business that they're pursuing, or any other form of improvement. A dime spent there is worth $1 in trying to keep that great seller attached to your company. And the fourth reason that people leave great companies is inconsistency. Great sellers, great performers of all kinds, thrive on consistency. They want a baseline on which they can riff. They want something as simple, frankly, as keeping regular weekly meetings, scheduling those one-on-ones, keeping it. By the way, one seller told me, said, you know, whenever my boss tells me that that they have to cancel my one-on-one and that we'll talk next month, I always tell them it's okay. But you know what? It's not okay. That seller left her company 2 months later. So if that's why they'll leave you, let's talk about the reasons why they'll love you. Great sellers thrive in and love companies where managers break it down with them, where leaders break it down, where you can simplify the complex environment in which they're going to operate, and when you can sit down with them and break down the approach to a client, a business problem, right? It's like parenting. Being there matters. Presence really matters. Being engaged with them in the process. Second, they like being in companies that celebrate and support, that elevate and support process. Sales can be a numbers game. It is a numbers game. But too frequently, all that our managers do is point at the numbers, offer some simplistic forms of inspiration, right? Or get the stick out. And that can be a very shallow existence. So focusing on the process, letting great sellers know that you understand the process that they go through to drive a deal forward, huge opportunity. Third, great sellers thrive in companies that offer clarity and explain their values around decision making. Now, these are grown men and women. They do not expect that you can see the future. They also don't even expect you to make the right choice every time. But they want to know the basis on which you make decisions. They want to understand the values of the company. And one thing that as individual entrepreneurs and as major companies that we don't do a very good job of is explaining our values, explaining how and why we make the decisions that we make. And fourth, they thrive and they love companies that close the gaps between sales, marketing, and product. Believe me, as tough as it is internally working with individual fiefdoms and silos inside your companies, having to explain those to customers on the street as you're trying to create deals and put together the very difficult right brain sales work that these people have to do, that can be nigh on impossible.